Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders of Transformation. Today we're going to have some fun. I met Isabelle actually last year and we had a wonderful time. Met her in Hawaii. Great place to meet people. And she is amazing. She is so incredibly talented at what she does. She is a momentum generator, pure and simple. Her passion is helping entrepreneurs raise the bar and create massive value and build and deliver outstanding experiences. She's a marketer and she's a brander, but she's so much more than that. And you're going to find that out here. Her first business venture, she started when she was in her early 20s, quickly escalated to become one of Canada's most awarded branding and creative firms, and earning her some pretty prestigious international awards, as well as National Entrepreneur of the Year. So there's so much I could talk about. I can brag on her all day. But Isabelle, we're just excited to have you here. Welcome to Leaders of Transformation.
I'm thrilled to be here, honestly. This is exciting.
And a fellow Canadian. I love it.
Yes.
Yay. You know what? There's so many good things that come from Canada. And the more now that I live in the U.S., although I am in Canada right now, I'm at my brother's lovely home here. And as I was saying to Isabelle, this is a fixer-upper. So they're this wonderful nostalgic background 70s paneling will be going soon, but right now this is the most done room in the house. So but anyway, you know what, it was funny because as I moved to the US, I started to meet even more. I knew of course a lot of Canadians before, but I met all of these amazing Canadians like yourself that are doing these extraordinary things, and I was like, what the heck, I had to move to the US to get to meet you. So through Americans get to meet other Canadians. So funny. But anyway, I'm glad that we're here. We're also glad that you're here as our listeners and our viewers. You know what? You're the reason why we do this podcast, because we want to inspire you to be the difference maker, the world changer that you're capable of being. And I believe that every single person has genius, has something to bring of tremendous value to the world. Isabelle's going to show you how to do that, talk about how she helps clients do that, individuals and businesses. And we're just really excited that you're here. Afterwards, if you like this episode, please go on iTunes, leave us a rating and review. It helps us to create a greater reach. We have listeners in over 120 countries. We want to continue to extend that out. And we'd love to hear your comments and your questions. And we're going to give you an opportunity afterwards to connect with Isabelle and learn more about what they're doing, her and her lovely partner, Margarita, and their amazing team. And but we'd love to hear your comments and questions. You can find us on social media. You can also go to leadersoftransformation.com. One last thing, I'm going to do a little plug for a book that I contributed to. It's called Power Up Superwomen. And I'm looking at it like I have to remember the name of the title. No, it's not. But anyway, it's a wonderful book. I actually had the opportunity to write a chapter in it. And it is stories of courage and empowerment from women who experienced great challenge and were able to learn through that, grow through that, create transformation in their own lives, and inspire you to make the transformation happen in your life as well. So I encourage you to go get that. You can go on Leaders of Transformation /resources to get a copy of that book. All right, coming back to Isabelle. There's so many things that we can talk about here. So let's start off. Her company is called Leap Zone Strategies. So Isabelle, tell us a little bit about what you do at Leap Zone.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Leap Zone is all about helping entrepreneurs and thought leaders and small business owners really understand what makes them the first, the best, or the only. So in short, I help people differentiate and position themselves in a way that people are going to go, heck, where have you been all my life, right? So basically we're a strategy, we're a branding, and we're a coaching company. So we help people with positioning, with personality, and with performance. So, you know, when we look under the hood of a company, we look at all these aspects to make sure that not only, a lot of people work in silos. You know, they have a coach over here, they have a strategist over here, they have a brand builder over here, they have a graphic designer over here. And none of these tribe members are actually working together. And I believe that those three, you know, positioning, personality, performance, if those are not in total alignment, it's going to be a lot harder to actually create the impact that you want to create. So that's why we sold our previous branding agency, because it only took care of one of these three categories. And so as a result of that, we thought, nope, we've discovered over the years that it's just better to have one team work in those three categories. And since then, the transformations, the depth and the width of the transformation that we've been able to create with our clients have been nothing short of, I was going to say a miracle, but it's not a miracle because it's by design, but nothing short of an amazing, amazing result. So I love what I do, and I love to dig deep, and I love to help people really get clear about why should people choose them regardless of price.
Well, we have so many people out there nowadays who are trying to be a thought leader, trying to differentiate themselves, but there's so much noise. There's so much noise in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And we were just talking beforehand about certain strategies that have been done and overdone, and it's time to do things new and different. Because if you keep doing what everybody's done or the same thing that you've always done, then you get the same result. So, so I think that maybe it would help to, as we dive into this area, is to understand, how do you differentiate yourself? Like, what are the things that you're seeing? I know you're also a trendsetter. So you're not just seeing what's happening right now, and what's happening coming in the future. And so maybe you can give our listeners a little bit of an insight.
Yeah. So the key is to work from the inside out. So it's actually to be aware of how the market is maturing, right? Like, what's being oversaid, overtold, overdone, and where is the market? Where are the trends going? That's our job. Then my job with my clients is to really look at what makes them the first, the best, or the only. And so we dig deep to really understand, what is your past? What is all of your experience amalgamated to today? Then it's about, what is the new normal, right? What is the problem that you want to solve? And how uniquely do you want to solve this problem? And then it's about looking at what is proprietary to you. So I create methodologies or frameworks, and that's called the X factor. So first, in your brand foundation, you got to be clear about your mission. And your mission is not a mission statement. Mission statements are a swear word at LeapZone. I don't care that people have a mission statement, blah, 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 we will, blah, blah, right? A mission to us, it's about how you leave people feeling, and it's one or two words. At LeapZone, we want to leave people feeling on fire and unstoppable. You can ask anyone on my team at any time, and that intention has the way we act, our actions are in line with that intention. So first, having a strong mission, that basically a cultural buy-in that everybody is aligned with. Then after that, it's to look at, what is your brand promise? What does your brand promise? And most people know what their product, right? They have a promise for a particular product.
Yes.
That's good, but it's not enough. You got to have your umbrella brand has to stand for something overall. And it has to, the services under the umbrella brand has to deliver on what you truly believe in as a brand stand and what your brand is designed to promise. So for example, at LeapZone, we promise clarity, pivotal shifts, and momentum. Everything we do, when I go speak somewhere, when I create a new program, when I alter our coaching program, it's all about promising clarity, pivotal shifts, and momentum. Now, that has to be what we're best at. It also requires for your ideal clients that that's exactly what they need and what they're looking for. There needs to be an alignment here. Otherwise, you're not going to be seen. You're going to be lost in the noise. And you're not going to be able to engage and influence as strongly as you would if you were clear about that. Right? So, yeah. And then the other key point, which was the beginning to your question, which was how do you figure out what your X factor is? Like, what makes you different? Well, first you need to be very clear. I'll give you an example. In Korea, there's a large company for some reason right now. the name escapes me, but it's a grocery company, right? Mm-hmm. And it so happens that they want to grow, and it so happens that Koreans hate grocery shopping. They have other things, other fish to fry. So how do you solve the problem of, I provide food and people need to eat, yet people don't like to shop, therefore growing our locations might not be the best way. So when you play the what if game, what if we didn't need a location? What if people could actually, what are Koreans do? What do they do most during the day? And you know what? It's work and transit. So they actually created, on the transit, in the metro or tube or whatever they call it, when you wait there, there's a variety of immense amount of walls. So what they did is they actually created posters, massive lines of posters of, as if you were in the meat aisle of a grocery store. And you're all looking at exactly how you would be. There's a dairy aisle, a meat aisle, a vegetable aisle. And while people are waiting, what they do is they take pictures of all the items that they need, and then they pick their delivery date. And by the time they're home, grocery awaits for them.
Amazing.
So, and I'm not saying that everybody on the planet, coaches and transformation leaders, need to actually completely revolutionize an industry. What I'm saying is often what we need to do is, who is our ideal client? What are their biggest pains in the butt? What am I really, really great at? What is the new normal that I want to create? And then you start looking for crisscross alignment. So most of the time, what's important is to create either a framework, like at Leap Zone, we have our own proprietary process called the Leap Zone Trifecta. And it's the three, positioning, personality, performance. And within that, there are 8 key areas for growth. I'm not going to go through them right now. The point is not that. The point is to say that out of all the coaches and the brand builders, I'm the only one who treats strategy, business growth, and branding as one ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And I'm the only one who does it the way I do it. And it's way easier to, when you have something to, a sales conversation or an enrollment conversation, when I actually say, here's what I believe, here's how I built my business, here's what makes me different, here's what my brand stand is, and here's what I promise. People go, holy shit, where have you been all my life? That's what I teach others to do.
Well, and I hear is confidence. There's a level of confidence even in your clarity. I mean, it's for you to be clear in your messaging, but it's also what I'm hearing is, and one of the things that stood out for me when I first met you was the fact that in person, I know we spoke on webinars and it came through there, but especially when we met in Hawaii, you exude this confidence that, not arrogance, but a confidence in that you know who you are and you know what you're doing. And that sells. People are, they love to hear. And then if you can connect that like you're doing. Now you bring people. So when you talk about what we do here, give us a little bit of a picture. Yeah. I'm so jealous. You have this beautiful background. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And far nicer than this, but no, that's okay. But give it time. It's a work in progress. But no, the thing is that you bring people to your location. I know that you do these retreats, and they have also a unique experience. I know Margarita brings a unique experience through working with horses and so forth. So give us a little bit of a picture, of if I'm gonna, let's say I'm a client or potential client, and I'm gonna come and work with you. Mm-hmm. What am I gonna experience?
Yeah, a lot of that we keep secret, but I will share what I can share for sure.
Yeah, overall, yeah.
Well, overall, what we believe is that in order to really get to what can be possible and what you want to create, we need to take you out of your natural habitat. Because in your natural habitat, you're busy, you've got 1,000 things to do, you've got 1,000 directions that's pulling at you. So we actually want to access a different part of your creative and a different part of your soul, basically. So we bring you to our place, which is called Trailblazers. It's in the Neuse Bay on Vancouver Island. It's a magical piece of 5.2 acre estate with horses. And we spend 2 to 5 days together, depending on what we're working on, depending on what the challenge is. And it really allows you to take in the magic of this place, have the opportunity to work with Margaret and the horses. Because what I do is about outcome. What she does is about overcome. Outcome, overcome. You could have the best laid plan and the best goal possible. If the mindset and the fears and the beliefs actually work against you, you're shit out of luck, my friend. So Margarita actually really helps with the overcome part. So we spend a lot of time looking under the hood, figuring out the brand foundation, everything I've talked about a moment ago, figuring out how you're going to deliver, what you're going to deliver, programs, services, products, what is going to be the best way in delivering that, what is going to be the best way in promoting that and be known as the first, the best, or the only. So all of that, the majority of that happens at Trailblazers. And then after that, of course, we help with coaching and helping with performance and accountability. We also help with implementing. So a lot of people, it's one thing to know what to do and where to go. It's another thing to actually do it, right? So we help with implementation, which all of that happens virtually with our clients returning to their own natural habitat.
Got it. Well, and I wanted you to share that because I know that you have this beautiful estate. I haven't been there yet, but I've seen pictures and so forth. And what you talk about environment is so very important. That's why I kind of half joke about this, but you know, it is environment, the space, environment in terms of physically the environment, but also the people that you hang around with. And you and I met through a mastermind community. And so to get around people like yourself, it's so interesting. Every time I have a conversation with somebody who is on, let's say, for example, the people that are on my podcast, I walk away from that conversation with my mind expanded. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. It's just like, if there's this opportunity of just like, oh my goodness, you know, there's clarity, there's ideas that come up.
Yes.
There's all these things that show up. And so to get around that and to be fully immersed in that, and the fact that you have that opportunity to do that versus being in a meeting room somewhere, it's not really the same thing.
Totally. And immerse is a good word here because all of our clients that have experienced, so we do strategy here. We do strategy in other ways as well. But when we actually move forward with a rebrand or move forward with a complete business elevation, we start, usually there's a retreat somewhere in there. And while they're here, whether it's 2 days or 5 days, at the end, they always say to me, I have never experienced this amount of clarity, this amount of pivotal shifts, and this amount of momentum, which is precisely what we promise. And most of them say, I haven't experienced that in 10 years with a variety of different coaches. I'm mind boggled. I'm mind blown as to how much we were able to create and decide on and pivot from in such a short amount of time. But that's because we eat together. You know, I was going to say we sleep together, but not really. I mean, you sleep here, but you know what I mean? We eat together. We sleep together. You don't get rid of me. But that allows me to have all my, I always joke that I have 9 people up here, all my 9 people plus my real team to actually literally work for you. There are times where the client comes down from a night's sleep. We all have breakfast together, but before breakfast, I'm a 4 o'clocker type of person, right? So I get up and then I go into the pioneer room. The rule is when the door is open, you're welcome to come in. When the door is closed, then I'm in there, especially if I'm in my pajamas, do not come because I'm like genius at work. So I rework things, I rejig things, and everyone leaves with a tremendous amount of clarity and pivotal shifts. And what that does is it brings it full circle to what you said initially. It brings confidence. And honestly, with confidence about who you are, what you do, why should someone hire you instead of everyone else, despite of how much more you could be charging, doesn't matter, regardless of price, that actually brings people want to be a part of that energy.
Yeah.
Right. And ultimately sometimes I speak on stage and I don't speak about the subject that I deliver, for example. It's a completely different subject. People come to see me and they go, I don't know what you do, but what I'm clear about is I want to work with you. So let's get to it, and
Exactly.
that comes from the clarity that I've acquired over the years, and the way it's one thing to be clear. It's another way to clearly communicate it, right? With confidence.
Yes. Oh, I love this. This is great. So for you, I know that this podcast is about transformation of businesses, but transformations of even people personally, internally. So what has been, obviously you're really awesome at what you've done, or what you do. There's a journey that you've been on to get to that point of transformation where you're clear on who you are. Mm-hmm. So what was one of your most challenging, transformational, defining moments, whatever you want to call it, deep, what do they call it? Dark night of the soul, or whatever you want to call it. What was that for you, where you realized that this is what you're meant to do?
Yeah, there's been a few pivotal points that have impacted and led me to where I am today. One of them, to begin with, was I was a dancer. I was a professional dancer, jazz and modern. And I had an accident, and that completely pivoted my direction. And boy, am I glad, because I would never have met Margarita. Margarita and I met at 18 in first year of university. I would never have been at that university in that program had I not had this big pivot. However, the pivot in business that really got me the most was years ago. We had this branding agency that we sold back in 2006. And we were told that we could never sell a service business. And I went, oh, well, watch me, because I build businesses, even though they're not franchised, they're built that could be franchised. So that I thought, there's systems, right? They're systemized, and there's an intelligent architecture. So the biggest part, though, to lead me to that is I felt like what I was doing was no longer fueling me. And like, although I was extremely amazing at it, it just felt like I'd been there, done that, and this might not feel like, it's not like I was hit over the head by a bus, or it's not dramatic, yet it's very dramatic when you feel like you're not in alignment with what you should actually be doing, and something that totally jazzes you and fuels you. So I went through the dumpster for a while there, going, oh my God, what am I meant to do? And so that really got me to, and it reminded me in my TED Talk, the whole premise of my TED Talk is what you tolerate, you will end up worrying about. And that got spun by my mom when I was 9 years old. And this will all wrap up. This all makes sense when I wrap it up. My mom said to me once, she said, Isabelle, I was being bullied, and I didn't want, the phone rang, and I didn't want my mom. I didn't want to speak to this person. So I said, Ma, I'm not here. She said, yeah, she's right here. Just a second. She gave me the phone. And before she gave me the phone, she said, here's the thing, little girl. If you can't say no to what you don't want, you'll never have the time and the energy for what you do want.
Wow.
And although I was 9, that hit me like a ton of brick. I was like, oh my God. From there, I became completely obsessed by why I say yes to things and why I say no to things. And I became very aware that most people in this human race, we say yes way too much. We say yes to things that we should have said no to. And I became really, really good at going, what do I want? What do I not want? Is it a hell yes, or is it a no? Because I don't have a middle. So it's either a hell yes or it's a no. And so it got me to really look at my previous business and look at what I think was missing to align with, to fuel me and to create a greater impact. And what was I keeping saying yes to that should have been no all along? And that really, in fact, most people that I've met, or people in my family, I've got some really, really successful people in my family, and they all said this to me. The biggest thing that got me to from here to there was to be able to say no, and was to be able to decipher between vital few and trivial many. Because we live in the world of trivial many. And we tend to do a thousand little things on our day to make room for the big important thing that we never get to. So I teach people how to decipher from vital few to trivial many. And that process of me letting go of a business that I had started when I was very young, my identity was actually completely tied to that business. When I let that go, I had no clue who I was. I was still Isabelle, the owner of Scenario Design. I was Isabelle, the designer, the creative director. I didn't know who I was without that. So the biggest influencers here was, if you can't say no to what you don't want, you'll never have the time and the energy for what you do want. And I mean, that completely changed the course of how my life, but also how I think on a day-to-day basis.
Wow. Well, there's so much there, and I can totally relate to that. It's not this big aha. It's kind of like this dull, and living in that space. But oh my goodness, when you talk about how we do the busy things, we fill our day with, I mean, how many times I had a client once who came to me with, 4 pages of things that she needed to do. And I said to her, okay, well, your first assignment is to, just on a very surface level, cut that in half. Right? Cut that in half, and then cut it in half again, because what it'll do is it'll force you to ask yourself what's really important. And so many things that we think are important at the end of the day or what. And I noticed myself doing it, I think it was last week. It was a few days ago, whatever, last week. And I was thinking, well, I need to get all these things done so I can do the most important thing. And I went, what am I doing? No, you're in your, greatest creative mode right now. Do that thing. The other things will be taken care of later. Yes. You check the email later, you'll respond, blah, blah, and all that stuff. And I remember somebody said once, if you don't have a plan and agenda for your day, somebody will try to fit you into theirs. And I found that if, people will say, oh, we need to do this, or you need to do that. No, I don't need to do anything. And I love what you say about saying no more. That's brilliant. Yeah.
And you know what? I was my mom was pivotal for me in my life. She, her and I are best friends. And I mean, don't mind me. She's my mom. She drives me nuts at times, and I'm sure I drive her nuts too. And she's been pivotal. So that's one phrase she said, right? If you can't say no, you're never going to have time for what you do want. And when because I've been someone who likes to do a million different things. And I'd be like, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And my mom would go, okay, so I want you to pick 3, and I want you to give me a rationale for which one you're going to sell me to, like to sell me on one. And so I was like, but I want to do the 3. She's like, no, you can't do the 3 at the same time. You'll do the 3. Isabelle, you can drive on different highways, but you cannot be on 3 highways at once. So she was forcing me to really look at what is in it for me, what is in it for the impact that I want to create. And we had a couple of words that I needed to align to. Basically, she taught me the value of values early on so that I would, and she'd say, now how does that align with your values? And I'm like, okay, this is how, So I was raised as an essentialist, right? I was raised, if I wanted to buy a new pair of jeans, I had to get rid of one. It's always one in, one out. It doesn't have to be the exact same item out, but something goes in, something has to go out. And she really taught me that. And a few years back, I found this book, which, by the way, is the best book I've ever read in my life. And I'm dyslexic and I don't like to read. So just to preview that. The book is called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And what that book did is it gave me language for how I am by nature and how I was raised. And I was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. That's what my mom didn't even know about that. She was just raised that way, and where it came from, who knows? But that gave me language. And it is by far one of the best book I've ever read.
Well, I've never heard of it. I'm definitely going to pick that up. That sounds fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you. And I just love that you share. Like, I'm so glad I asked that question about your own transformation story, because all of this richness and what you learned from your mom. And now I remember the TED Talk when I first heard the TED Talk. And we'll make sure that that's in the show notes that people can access that. It's actually on your website as well.
It is. It's on my website, and we'll definitely send you the link for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So leapzonestrategies.com is the website to go to for our listeners and our viewers. You know, I would highly recommend go check out what Isabelle's doing. There's so much that we could talk about here. You kind of have to experience it. You got to go to her website and see what she's talking about. She's describing this clarity and so forth. But when you go to her website, you're going to actually see it live and in color, how they've done it for their business and how they do it for the clients that they work with. So, I just really, so is there any, before we kind of wrap up here, because as I said, I know we could probably talk all day, and you know, it would be awesome. What would you want to leave our listeners with? They're leaders of transformation, they're entrepreneurs, they have dreams, they have goals, they have things they want to get their message out there to more people. What would you say to them?
You know, a couple things. Definitely treating yourself as your own best client. So what's happening in the world is we serve our clients and we get lost in the act of service. And most people tell me, how have you been able to create an online TV show, a membership site, an online program while servicing, while doing retreats? Because I treat me on my production board as I would $1 million client. And when if I'm blocked for me and a client needs that time, most people go, yeah, no problem. I'll just move my stuff away and I'll work with you. But the thing is, that'll always happen. So I work as my own best client regularly every week, so that it's architecturalized, it's systemized, it happens. So that way you
have a calendar appointment.
100%. I have a 2 half days in my calendar every week that are dedicated for me to work on my business. Because if your business has many squeaky wheels, by you helping others all the time, which is fantastic, great, but it's never going to actually fix the squeaky wheels. And with squeaky wheels, your impact is diminished, and your amount of creativity is also diminished, because you're fandangling things over here. That takes you longer and longer, therefore less time for you to actually deliver your genius. So that's one thing. And on our website, we have 2 areas on our website that is completely free and massively valuable. Leap TV. So you can either go to leaptv.com or go to the Leap TV portion of our website. Both are the same. And the other one is Leap Tools. And they're all fun, entertaining. Believe me, my bloopers are worth it right there. But they're all tutorials. I teach about self-management, because there is no such thing as time management. Everybody's got 24/7, right? So you got to manage yourself. So there's from self-management to marketing to how to keep things simple. Everything that I teach is about simplicity. It's about vital few versus trivial many. And I boil it down in a very fun, simple way of learning. So, and those are all free, absolutely free tools for you to, get to know me and for me to get to know you. But I would say no more of saying no, and treat yourself like you would $1 million client.
Beautiful. Isabelle, thank you so very much. You're just such an inspiration, and there's so much to you. I mean, that's why I think that the best next step is just to go to your website and to unpack this, because there's so much to how you bring all of these pieces together. You truly are in your genius zone when you do this. And I just really, really appreciate you spending a little bit of time here today with us and sharing a little bit of that with us. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity and questions and answers. I mean, obviously this will be posted, and I'd be happy to, if there's a question, I'd be happy to partake in the collaboration and the conversation for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah. And with that, so for our listeners, I mentioned in the beginning, if you have questions, you have comments, please you can go to leadersoftransformation.com and send them to us privately there. You can also find us on social media and you can send your comments there. Of course, you can go to leapzonestrategies.com and reach out to Isabelle and her team as well. I'm a big believer, Leaders of Transformation take action. Do something. There is so much here. This is going to be one of those episodes, and which many of ours are, that you want to go back and re-listen to, because there's so much value. There's so much richness in what is being shared. And so I would encourage you to go back, listen to that, and take action on something. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today, because that's where the transformation begins to happen. So I encourage you that. We'd love to hear your stories. And we also look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Leaders of Transformation real soon.